Greenland appears completely flat on every major mapping service. No mountains, no valleys, just white. Either it's the world's largest ice skating rink or something doesn't add up. I've been looking at Greenland through Google Maps, Bing, Yandex, even ArcGIS. Every single one shows the same thing. The interior is nothing but a featureless white blob. Only the coastal areas show any detail whatsoever, just flat white nothingness covering 3/4 of the island. You can zoom in as much as you want, the result stays the same. Scientists tell us this ice is over 1 million years old. They used beryllium-10 and aluminum-26 isotopes to date exposed bedrock. According to their analysis, Greenland was ice-free for 280,000 years before freezing over around 1.1 million years ago. The official explanation says the weight of all this ice pushed the land down. The bedrock under central Greenland is supposedly near sea level now. They warned that if the ice melted, Greenland would probably appear as a group of islands. The ice allegedly pushed entire mountains down to sea level, not eroded them away gradually, but physically compressed the land itself. Older maps tell a different story. In 1638, cartographers showed Greenland covered in snow for only 6 months of the year, just like Scandinavia. Not permanently frozen, just winter snow. The famous 1570 Mercator map shows Greenland with mountains, valleys, and detailed terrain features. According to the official timeline, he would have been mapping Greenland as it appeared millions of years ago. Somehow, he remembered to include all those mountains that supposedly got depressed under the ice. Either Mercator had a time machine or something else is going on. Multiple historical maps show Greenland free of ice. Numerous cartographers from different time periods and regions documented an ice-free Greenland. If you hit that subscribe button right now, you're helping this channel grow. One subscriber genuinely makes a difference for a new channel like this. The like button pushes this video to more people who want to hear this information. Greenland has been inhabited for at least 4,500 years. Norse settlers arrived in the 10th century. Leif Erikson sailed from Greenland to North America around 500 years before Columbus. The Norse colonies vanished in the late 15th century when Norway suffered from the Black Death. Later, Danish explorers reached Greenland and Denmark affirmed sovereignty in 1814. That's the official story, but historical accounts raise questions. One 1747 map shows what appears to be a massive canal running through Greenland. The measurements suggest it would be approximately 630 to 650 miles long. The map notation says these straits were formerly passable but are now shut up with ice. Formerly passable. That's a specific claim about a feature that supposedly existed before the current ice coverage. If you zoom in to the southeastern part of Greenland on Google Earth at coordinates roughly 67 degrees 47 minutes 55.92 seconds north and 33 degrees 43 minutes 7.29 seconds west, you can see what might be the beginning of this formation. It's subtle, but it's there. Only Google Earth reveals this potential feature. A 1592 map by Vincenzo Coronelli shows the southern tip of Greenland with no ice coverage, and displays 2 straits cutting through the landmass. The same map shows trees growing in the region. Trees in Greenland in 1592. An illustration from a 1763 book by Hans Egede shows significant vegetation, actual plant life that would require a much warmer climate. A 1770 map also marks these east to west channels. If cartographers simply made mistakes, why do we see variations in the details? Some maps show 1 channel, others show 2. These aren't identical reproductions, they're different observations of similar features. The mainstream explanation calls this the incorrect assumption. An 1818 map by Egede illustrated what academics describe as the false belief that Norse settlements were located in southwest and southeast Greenland. Many locations named in Icelandic sagas were placed at what are now called imaginary sites on the unknown east coast. That's the official position. But what if these cartographers were recording what actually existed during their time? or based on reliable accounts from earlier periods. In 1888, Fridtjof Nansen organized an expedition to cross the Greenland ice sheet from east to west. This was considered groundbreaking because previous expeditions had attempted the crossing from west to east. Nansen's initial planned route corresponds almost exactly to where the alleged canal would be located based on those older maps. His team couldn't execute that route. They had to take a different path further south. The official explanation is that terrain and ice conditions made the northern route impossible. If you overlay Nansen's planned route on those old maps showing the canal, the correlation is striking. Scientists are documenting rapid ice loss in Greenland right now. During an August heat wave, approximately 12 billion tons of ice melted in a single day. Studies indicate Greenland's ice is melting 4 times faster now than it was in 2003. If this ice melts and reveals the landscape underneath, what will we find? Will we see evidence of human habitation? Will the geography match those old maps showing channels and terrain features? The scientific community focuses entirely on climate change implications, but nobody in the mainstream is asking whether archaeological discoveries might challenge our understanding of Greenland's history. An 1849 source describes Greenland in ways that don't match the current frozen wasteland. The description suggests a more habitable environment. Consider a different timeline. What if Greenland froze over relatively recently, not a million years ago? What if the freeze happened within the last 500 years? That time frame would explain why maps from the 1500s and 1600s show an ice-free Greenland. The cartographers weren't making mistakes. They were documenting current conditions or recent memory. By the 1700s and 1800s, the freeze was complete, but cultural memory persisted. This would also explain the rapid disappearance of the Norse settlements. What if the settlements became uninhabitable as temperatures dropped and ice advanced? The Norse vanished in the late 15th century. That's roughly when Greenland would have been transitioning from habitable to frozen. The Icelandic sagas mention Greenland locations. Mainstream archaeology claims these were errors because they don't match current geography. But if Greenland's geography was drastically different 500 years ago, those accounts might be accurate descriptions of places that now lie under miles of ice. If Greenland was habitable in the 1400s or 1500s, there could be entire towns preserved under the ice. Buildings, artifacts, written records, all frozen in time. The current scientific narrative needs Greenland's ice to be ancient because that supports climate models built up over decades. Admitting the ice is only a few centuries old would require rethinking fundamental assumptions. The evidence creates problems for the official story. The featureless appearance on mapping services is bizarre. The historical maps are too numerous and detailed to dismiss as fantasy. The rapid ice loss suggests the ice sheet might not be as stable or ancient as claimed. What caused such a dramatic freeze if it happened recently? We have no mainstream record of such an event, but we do have records of unusual cold periods and crop failures during the Little Ice Age from roughly 1300 to 1850. What if the Little Ice Age was more severe than currently acknowledged? What if Greenland represented the extreme end of that cooling event? The timing aligns with the disappearance of the Norse settlements and the freezing over shown in the transition from older to newer maps. Why do modern satellite systems show Greenland as completely featureless? The technology exists to map terrain under ice. Ground-penetrating radar can reveal subsurface features. The data exists somewhere, but publicly available mapping services show nothing. We can map the surface of Mars in incredible detail. We can map the ocean floor, but Greenland's interior remains a white void on civilian mapping platforms. Climate researchers warn about ice loss consequences. They frame it purely as a modern crisis driven by industrial carbon emissions. But what if Greenland's current frozen state is actually abnormal? What if the Earth is simply returning to a previous equilibrium? The Earth's climate has cycled through warm and cold periods throughout its history. The question is the timescale. Mainstream science puts these cycles on timescales of thousands or millions of years. But if major shifts can happen over centuries, that changes everything. As Greenland's ice continues to melt, we'll get answers. Archaeological sites will emerge, or they won't. The terrain will match historical maps, or it won't. Physical evidence will either support the million-year-old ice sheet theory or contradict it. If significant archaeological finds emerge, timeline questions become unavoidable. How did humans build settlements or travel through regions supposedly frozen solid for millions of years? The official position would need to accommodate either a much shorter ice sheet timeline or a much longer human presence in the Arctic than currently acknowledged. The ice continues to melt. The so-called satellite monitoring documents the changes. Eventually, the landscape underneath will reveal itself. When it does, we'll see if those old maps were imagination or memory. Share this and watch more on this channel.